from the new Baldur's Gate Commander Legends set, Jake, what is your understanding of background and how it works?
All right, so my understanding of it is I'm picking a legendary creature, and this legendary creature is going to pair with an ability or a color.
Okay.
And or a color.
Correct.
And that is going to determine the color identity of the deck that you're building. And I think it's like each of the backgrounds, they're all, okay, I see it here, legendary enchantments.
Correct.
So that's what is that pretty much it?
That's pretty
long
much
and short of it?
Yeah, as far as the elevator pitch of background, the phrase choose a background on these creature cards just means the same thing that partner does, that friends forever does. Those mean the exact same thing. It kind of confused me at first because it is a gerund, I get. No, that's a verb, choose a background. So I got confused because I thought maybe when you played it, then you choose it. No, it just means the same thing. It is partner. So these creatures that specifically say choose a background let you choose a background, and this is like your second commander. Every single time I've heard it described by the official WotC team over there, they've talked about this is basically a second commander. Think of it as a second commander. Tax applies the same way. If it goes away, you can recast it for 2 more. If you do happen to animate target enchantment as a creature and you attack with it and it deals damage, track that. That's commander damage. But basically what it is in the limited design space, because remember, this commander product starts from a limited space.
I see. So hold on one second.
Yeah.
You're saying if I were to animate a legendary enchantment or whatever, and now all of a sudden it's a creature,
yes,
it does damage. It's that commander damage is going to be part of the commander damage that you've done with the other commander, or is it?
I think it's its own commander damage, just as though it was a partner.
So I would be like, take your raised by giants damage if I was able to turn that into.
And you write down did 5 raised by giants damage. Just a weird little quirk of how this works. The impetus for this...
take your noble heritage damage. I like the backgrounds because as somebody who plays D&D, it kind of informs a little bit, you know, like...
Well,
and it's a cool...
That's what they said. It's flavorful and it's necessary. What I was saying is that from the limited standpoint, that's how they design this set as a draftable commander experience. And so they need fixers for commander colors. You know, say you want to go blue-green the whole time, but sorry, you only got mostly blue and red. Now you need to choose one of these background creatures and choose one of their backgrounds to match up, boom, so that you've got the right colors for your limited experience. That's also why they've included Faceless One, and Faceless One for the limited experience, this will have very little constructed application, but Faceless One is a background itself, and it also says choose a background. So if you for some reason don't draft any commanders, but you just draft a bomb set of black and green cards, play 2 Faceless Ones, choose black for one and green for the other, and you've got your commanders.
You know, Clay makes a good point here in chat, saying they couldn't continue partner because the possible combinations would be too much to test. And whether or not that's, you know, speculation or not, I mean, it just...
No, that's what Gavin said.
Right?
There's already over 1,000 combinations of partner, but a partner-like mechanic is necessary to make a draftable commander set work. And so they had to come up with something else. Or the partner, it was going to get to a point where partner's like, why don't you just play partner? There's literally a combination for every archetype that you want to play, every color set you want to play, and they can't keep adding to that. So yeah, that's exactly right.
So the big thing that we should know then is that there's a specific set of cards that are able to have a background, and the first printing of them is here. They exist in the new Commander Legends Baldur's Gate.
Yes, correct. So look at this. If you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost. Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat. We know these cards. If you have your background on the battlefield, but no commander on the battlefield, you can still play this because it would check for a commander, and it would check for a commander and see it, even though you don't have your creature commander on the battlefield. They were important. They were specific to note that. And then if you have a card that says commander creature, like when that spell mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, we've got a commander creature on some of these that it won't affect, but it will affect if it's just on the... Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
No, that makes sense.
Counts as a commander.
I see where you're coming from. The big thing to keep in mind is that this is for... this is a commander. It is a commander.
Right.
But it is set up as a legendary enchantment. What's cool about the background is it seems really hard to remove. Being a legendary enchantment.
That was my first thought.
Once you have it on the battlefield, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get rid of. So it goes up in mana cost each time you recast it, just like your partner, just like a commander.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, when you look at limited, there's going to be play for some of these uncommon, some of these even common legendary backgrounds that we're getting. But that when we get into constructed, probably going to look at our mythics, probably going to look at our rares. Like I said on the preview stream, I really like Gale because whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you can cast the other type from your graveyard and then exile it. And so Gale is like constantly returning your stuff. So now I want to see like a good, probably black enchantment that has to do with spell casting, maybe sacrificing something, drawing cards, something, maybe a red one that has to do with instants and sorceries.
Blue, black, it's some sort of removal because, that's a good way to get the most out of that because you do have to pay to cast it from the yard. It's not a for free thing, which would make it just, insanity.
Absolutely busted. Busted. But so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to once we've got all of our cards previewed is what creature and backgrounds are going to be, the premium options so that we can, really see what effect it's going to have on constructed. Because we know, like, this one cost, Cultists of the Absolute, commander creatures you own get +3/+3 and have flying, death touch, ward, pay 3 life, and at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature as the downside. But the 1 mana, the 2 mana ones, that's the kind of stuff that's going to be competitive, especially when we're looking at rares or mythic abilities.
That's a great little aristocrats background right there for the format, and what's cool about these backgrounds and what's great about having common ones and what we should say to anybody who's planning on drafting this who might be a little intimidated by the draft experience, you're not going to have any problem getting your colors. You have this one colorless background that you can pick. You can choose a color, essentially, is what it's saying. And that's if you're completely just like, oh man, I have nothing else that I can possibly use. It's going to be really easy to make sure that you get any kind of 2-color deck that you want.
It's a very dirtily format though. Pack removal, draft flyers, draft menace creatures.
Draft creatures that say, when this creature taps and attacks, it does something. That's
stuff like
the kind of stuff that you're going to want to do. Any type of crown horn stag type thing like that.
Exactly.
Any type of
flag
bearer that taps something down.
The hammer at the table is what you want to act like. And so if you're an attacking deck, you want to act like the hammer for sure.
That's right. That's a good way to do it.
I see a really good question here. Grim Tutelage says, you may have covered this, but if it has partner, can you choose a background or is it specific to keyword background? It is specific to keyword background. That is how they designed this so that they could make partner, but not print more cards with the keyword partner on them. But that is a really good question. And I think I saw somebody else, if you choose 2 commanders, can you have 2 backgrounds? And they don't background with each other. You can still only choose your creature that says choose a background, and then you choose a legendary enchantment background as your other commander.
Right.
But I'm super excited to see where it goes. Somebody was asking how many we have so far. We've only seen previewed 3 days now. So far, we've got 17 creatures that say background on them, and then we've got 14 backgrounds so far. But I bet we see a lot more of these before everything's said and done.
Yeah, probably at least a common one of each color, I would guess. Probably an uncommon one of each color.
Yep. That would make sense.
Something like that. If you have a set that's so this is gonna be, we're drafting a commander deck. So is it gonna be the same draft experience? This is something that we should talk about then as well. is it going to be the same draft experience as, Commander Legends where you're drafting 2 cards at a time?
Yeah, it's all the same.
All right. So
Format
all of that
is the
being
same.
the same that's pretty self-explanatory. So unlike most draft experiences, you're going to be drafting 2 cards at a time.
Yep.
This means that you're going to get to what I would prioritize is removal and stuff like that. Make sure you get that removal. Make sure that you get anything with like evasion so that you can get through. But it's going to be a fun experience whenever you get to draft like that, 2 cards at a time. That's good.
Oh, I did. This is also a thing that is relevant to backgrounds. These can just be an enchantment in the 99 of your deck. If you want to run an enchantment in the 99 of your deck that says commander creatures you own have base power and toughness 10/10 and are giants in addition to their other types, you can just run that. This can just be a legendary enchantment in your deck. Also thought that was relevant.
That is relevant, and it's good that you say that because somebody just wrote that in chat and they were asking. Yeah, good to know. Good to know there.